everybody. Welcome to the show. Hey, this is a bonus episode, so just a little extra hour to drop into your month. Glad to be in your AirPods.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Glad you're here. I'm well.
You did just say you were freezing, and I would like to say that's my fault.
Well, yes, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I just forgot.
What did you forget?
I forgot that you don't turn the heater on.
That's right.
And also I'm a little reptilian, and I get cold and stay cold. What I need to do is put on my long underwear before I come to work.
God. I mean, the problem is that I don't like to be hot.
Well, me neither.
And I get hot and stay hot. I'm opposite. So once I start getting sweaty in a podcast, which is easy because it's hot, it's intense, it's high intensity, we're like, it's over. It's over for me. It's over for all of us.
We've talked about this, the stress sweat.
Yeah.
I feel that's different than
just general warmth.
Like cold therapy
Sure.
while podcasting.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe I just turn it around and think of it as a cryotherapy.
Oh, I like that. This is your cold plunge.
I don't need an ice bath.
I will tell you that my fingers are cold.
Okay.
I just put them underneath my thigh to give a little warm up. And I'm sorry about it. The kids come over to the house when the big kids come home or come over for dinner, and they're like, Mom, if we leave $5 on the counter, can you turn the heater on? The inside of my house is just as cold as the studio.
It is. I know.
All right. Before we get to our bonus interview today, let's do a little bless and release.
Bless and release. You know you got to bless.
We are having a conversation later today with our guest who, for some of you, will go oh, this conversation is located in woo-woo space, if you will.
Yes.
When we get into visualization and sort of guided activations. And so there will 100% be people who are this feels squishy. And so bless and release, because I think you and I are finally at long last in alignment on this.
Yes.
Do we bless and release people's judgment around woo-woo practices? And listen, you really get to take the lead here. I'm a late adopter.
Yes. I released that a long time ago, I think, out of desperation. I think the key with a lot of this is finding what works for you. What your actual situation is, what your environment is, what your background is, how you understand things when you come to more of the woo-woo space.
Give a couple of examples, by the way. If somebody's listening going, what are they talking about by woo-woo? What are some woo-woo practices, for example, that you employ?
I've done reiki and other body work that has helped with physical pain.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it solves the whole problem, but it's a tool. I've for years felt the benefits of saging and cleansing spaces and meditative prayer and music. Those all can be a tool to feel better in your situation, to take steps towards growth. It's whatever works for you.
Yes.
It's not prescriptive.
No.
At all. But you can't explain all of it to someone who is not in a space to suspend, I don't know.
Their disbelief, or their cynicism or skepticism. Yeah.
And I do love that there is new science to back a lot of this up.
Of course. Yeah.
So that makes me feel a little more comfortable in it, but I still pursued some of that stuff before I understood the science and when people were like, that crap's crazy.
Well, listen, I mean, to be honest and fair, for the first decade of our friendship, I essentially called you a witch.
This is true.
So it would have been me. I'm the one.
You're the
I'm the one
You're the
that you would have
problem.
blessed and released.
Yes. And I did.
And you did. You were like, fine, you can just be in all your like Western medicine and like over medicate everything and like be detached from your own body, and also ancient healing practices that have been in existence for millennia. But sure, take your Advil. You know what I mean?
Full disclosure.
We love Advil. No, that was not a diss on Advil.
Yeah.
Hello.
But
yes,
Western medicine has a place in healing.
It has its place.
So does Eastern medicine.
It does.
So does like spiritual practices that we can't explain at all.
Yeah. Yeah. You have brought Reiki and saging into this very home in a way, and you know this. I'm not gonna steal the thunder because I actually wrote about this in the new book, but like in a way that was profoundly and immediately palpable and sustainable. Not like a placebo effect in which for that one day I tucked myself into feeling a certain way because of what you sort of brought into the home and what you cleared. But we are now at the 4.5-year mark and it remains true. So, hell.
And I can't explain that.
No, I can't explain that. And also the effect that it had on me, the very specific change that it created in my feelings and my emotions and my experience in my home, I wasn't even anticipating. Right. It wasn't like you said, I'm going to do this and try to get to this outcome, and I talked myself into that outcome. It was a side benefit that I went, you're never going to believe this, but since the day you came to my house, this thing has not happened again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even what you were there for. Specifically, I didn't even tell you that. I don't even think you knew that.
So I don't know how a lot of it works.
Yeah.
Honestly, it does make me feel better that there's emerging science to explain it. But I think so much of it is the intention with which you do things. And not in a placebo effect way.
Yes, exactly.
If you're open-hearted and seeking, I think a lot of different tools can benefit you.
I completely agree. Some of the practices that I have stayed open to and experienced in the last 4 years since my life fell apart, because I was like, well, I can't think my way through this. Yeah. I just can't powerhouse my thoughts through this kind of recovery and rebuilding. And so I've always relied on my mind. That's just my strongest asset, but I had to go into my body. And that was not a place that I had ever experienced really anything good. And so now tapping into that embodied, more spiritual woo-woo shit. Yes. God, it changed me.
Yeah.
It changed me. So anyway, it is adjacent to this conversation that we bring you today's episode. All right, on to our guest today. We are delighted to welcome Mimi Bouchard. Mimi is a visionary. She is an entrepreneur. She is the brains behind the Activations app. So Mimi has redefined the way that we approach mindfulness. And she has found a way to offer these practical tools that integrate really seamlessly into our daily lives. So it's not another thing to add. It's something that goes with what we're already doing. And her mission, if I was going to give it a focus, is basically to help people come into alignment with their future self, who it is they'd love to be. the version of them that feels the healthiest, the strongest, the clearest, the most in alignment with their gifts and their relationships, and basically just to sort of create a life that they love. From top to bottom, just one activation at a time. And by the way, as we move through Mimi's work and what she has created for us, know that listeners of the show have an exclusive opportunity to take a peek behind the curtain. And you'll be able to find out more at activations.com/Jen. And you don't need a code. That's just it. Where you can see more risk-free, like have a look into all this incredible stuff that we're about to talk about, and give it a try if you're interested. So with that, let's dive into Mimi's pretty incredible journey and find out how she really and truly turned her life completely around. So let's welcome Mimi Bouchard to the show. Mimi, welcome to the For the Love podcast. We are delighted to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing so well today. It's a beautiful day in the Bahamas. I live in the Bahamas most of the year, so very grateful for that. And how are you guys doing? Thank you for having me.
Well, we're definitely not in the Bahamas, but love that for you. You and your partner, Ben, right? You live there the majority of the year. I'm guessing that this is maybe about the time that your Toronto people start wanting to visit you, right?
Yes, yes. You've done your research. I'm originally from Canada. People definitely love to visit the Bahamas in the winter. And they also love to visit us in London. So we spend 8 months a year in the Bahamas and 4 months a year in London. We have a home there now as well. So we're living a pretty good balance. But yeah, just super grateful and feeling very blessed to live this beautiful life, and so excited for this conversation today.
That's incredible. Let's talk about, let's go back to those Toronto years. Let's go back to when you were younger, because I'd like my audience to get to know you a little bit more. And a good place to start are those like teen years, like 12 to 18 or so. You have said openly that for you, those were something of lost years, which is how you put it. I wonder if you could do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people can resonate in our teenage years. We've gone through a lot, and hormones are crazy. But I really do feel, looking back, that it was quite extreme, what I went through, and the amount of numbing that I put upon myself. I, at a young age, discovered drugs and alcohol, and I felt very lost, and I really didn't like myself. I struggled with depression, eating disorders, just a lot of self-hatred around that time in my life, never feeling good enough. I also grew up, thankfully, in a loving family, but a family that did not have a lot of money. My parents are both artists, and, we survived by remortgaging the house many times. When I was younger, there were bankruptcies in the family. It was a very dire situation with our finances, and that really created a lack of security in my life, and just a deep resentment, to be honest with you. I really wish I, had a situation like everyone else, it seemed, around me, that was decently stable, and it just seemed like all the fighting and all the drama and all the, negative feelings from when I was younger just had a lot to do with money, and then personally just not feeling good enough, and not looking the way I wanted to, and hating my body, and hating just a lot about my life. And I went through quite a dark time with that in my teenage years. It resulted in me, wanting to fit in. So doing a lot of drinking and drugs and going out and giving myself away and not respecting myself whatsoever. And that really left quite a big mark on me. And as quite a sensitive person, I think I just put on this armor, and I just drowned who I really was for that time. And it reached a point when I was 17, 18 years old where my body couldn't really handle it anymore. I was, again, always a sensitive person, emotionally and physically, and all the drugs and drinking and pills that I was taking just was really starting to take a toll on my body. And, I started getting these allergic reactions, or my eyes would shut closed and I'd have to go to the hospital, and I wasn't breathing properly. And I was smoking loads of cigarettes as well at the time. And I just wasn't a healthy person whatsoever. I was treating my body like garbage. And that kind of just resulted in me deciding to take a 1-month break from all of that. And during that time, magically, it seems, I was also introduced to my first personal development book. And I don't know what it was, right place, right time. I was given my first personal development book. It was The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And this was, over 10 years ago. It was not cool to be reading personal development at this time.
Not at 17. No.
Not at 17, not at 18. It really, something inside of me said, pick up this book and read it. And I was a little bit more clear because I decided for that month to just cleanse my body from the drugs and the alcohol and the going out and the, treating my body like crap. So I decided to read this book. And it was the beginning of a completely new life for me. I'm not going to sit here and say that the next day I woke up and I was perfect and I was transformed. It's obviously a mega journey, and it's not linear, and growth is so messy, and it's not this I don't want people listening to think that if they need to feel like they have to go through a transformation, I don't want them to feel like they need to wait for this epic movie moment where they have this realization. It didn't really happen like that for me. I just one step at a time. So I read this book and it started really changing my life. I realized with the principles in this book, the basic personal development principles of I am 100% responsible for my life, I'm an average of the 5 people I surround myself with most. Failure is a good thing. Rejection is redirection. You can create this dream life that you want, and here's how to visualize, and here's how to do it. So it just was the basic. It's quite a simple personal development book when I look at it now compared to everything else out there, but it's what I needed at the time, and it drove me to move outside of Canada. I decided to get a 2-year working visa that Canadians can get to the UK. I had saved up money that summer from working at a bar, and I decided to create my first entrepreneurial venture, which was an online magazine. And I moved to London with barely any money and was working 4 or 5 jobs to make ends meet while trying to make my online magazine a success. I was, babysitting this Italian family in the evenings. I was waking up at 6 a.m. to work at a juice bar. I was interning at a styling agency. I was dog walking. I was doing literally whatever it took. And fast forward, that was, around 19, 20 years old. Fast forward now, and I'm in my late 20s, and I have completely changed everything in my life. I'm now in the most beautiful relationship of my dreams. I'm getting married in the summer. My health is radiant. I feel so blessed. Financially has been an incredible transformation in my life. I went from having under $10 in my bank account when I was living in London, trying to, do anything to make ends meet, to now being incredibly abundant and have a company that helps tens and tens of thousands of people. I've been able to help out my family now. I've been able to, do a lot of things that have fulfilled me. And, I can't tell you how incredible this transformation has been, especially internally with how I feel about myself, my self-love. I've really come back to myself, and it was a long journey, and there are definitely so many things that had to happen in between that, but the difference is quite stark. And where I was even just 5, 6, 7 years ago is completely different to where I am today, and in every area. So I'm excited for today's podcast. I can share a bit more about what worked for me, and hopefully inspire people in this new year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When that is a huge leap, especially at 18, to move across the pond alone. Did you have a plan, and did you have the support of your family and friends?
Well,
that's true. If my 18-year-old was like, going to London, I don't have any money, I'm going to see what happens, I would freak out, I think. So I'm curious too how your family did.
Well, there were definitely family members that, no one, I don't think anyone really believed in me. I had gone through this like motivational revamp. I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to go become a millionaire. I'm going to move to London. I'm going to figure it all out. And I found this newfound inspiration. And I remember I was at a family dinner, kind of a goodbye family dinner before I left. And some random uncle, word for word, was like, all right, we'll see you in 6 months, I say, or we'll see you back here. Like, you're not going to make it, kind of in a joking way. And I knew deep down that no one really actually thought I could become who I am today. At the end of the day, it's a very lonely journey at the beginning. And I had to be alone a lot. I had to be the only one really that deeply believed in myself, because I believe truly that I am 100% responsible for my life. And I can't blame other people for not believing in me for why I wouldn't achieve success.
So let's get into some of the work you're currently doing. Emotional health is a huge focus for us.
Yeah.
How do you weave emotional and mental well-being into the work you do? And what's some of the science behind your practices?
Yeah.
Well, it's everything. I think I started this journey because I wanted to live a more abundant life. Finances was a very big thing for me. As you guys know, my background now, it was really the main driver for the first few years of this journey. And it was the main reason why I wanted to do this work on myself, because I wanted to become the type of person that could feel financially free and never have to experience the feeling I had as a kid of fear of security again. But really, I think as the time went on and I've realized that this work just changes every single area of your life, it's pretty incredible. It's really this domino effect. So it's all very, very deeply intermingled, the emotional, the mental, happiness of it all, and this feeling of achievement and the feeling of stepping into the person that you've always wanted to be, who I call the future self. Your future self is the ultimate version of you. My activations are designed to help you embody your future self energy, step in to the frequency of your future, become the self-image, the identity of your future self. You don't just need to see success in one area at a time. This is the beautiful thing about this work. It's this whole self-image reset. When you rewire your mind and you become the version of you that has everything that you want, you are inevitably going to start seeing these results show up in every bucket in your life. You asked about kind of the science about, self-image work and activations. And I guess before I go into that, because there's a lot of science to talk about this, I do want to share how I created activations, because it is a new type of audio, a new category of audio that hasn't really existed up till now. It's not meditation, it's activation. And essentially just bringing it back to the beginning of my journey. When I was in my early 20s, I had already done a few years of personal development work. So I intuitively, years and years ago, decided to start recording these voice memos to myself. And in these voice memos, I would talk myself through a visualization. I would tell myself my new beliefs, my affirmations of the person I am today. And then I've always been quite obsessed with music. I would layer in inspirational cinematic music that I'd find on YouTube, and on GarageBand, I would kind of make these mixes where I'd have this epic music, I'd have these very inspiring words and visualizations, and then I would listen to these activations, that was the original activation. I'd listen to these in everyday moments. So without my eyes closed, while I was walking, while I was cooking breakfast, while I was on public transport going to one of my jobs. And this is something that I started to do. And the growth that I had seen the prior 2-3 years before ever creating these activations for myself, it was definitely noticeable. It was kind of the beginning of a bell curve, like just the right at the beginning. It was a little bit of growth, but then from the year that I started listening to my activations, and I would listen to dozens of them, I'd continue creating them because I get bored and want to create more, and I'd listen to them in everyday moments. It was like the part of the bell curve that just went whoop, like really, 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 really exponential growth. And that's when I knew that I had hacked the system. I'd really just seen these insane improvements in my life. And so that's how I created activations. Years later, I decided just to share a few activations with the public, not knowing that it would blow up this much, but it ended up going quite viral 3 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create an app. And now we have over 700 activations. We work with the top engineers, audio engineers, composers that create the most epic music. And activations are a new type of audio that you listen to. Just like how you'd listen to a podcast or music or an audiobook. You have a time in your day, a mood that you're in to listen to an activation if you want to dramatically change your state, how you feel. And we know that music and words have such an impact on our lives. A lot of the musicians and composers we use actually do TV and movie scores where they are told by these movie producers, this is how we want the viewer to feel when watching this scene. So I literally work with these guys, these amazing composers that know inherently how to make someone feel a certain way. In the past few years, it's been just wild how people have just felt a need for this.
For somebody listening going, I'm trying to sort out what would it look like? So here's what I'm doing in my day. Here's what I do. Here's what I listen to. Here's how long it takes. Here's what I can kind of expect to experience. I'd love to hear you sort of parse it out a little bit into like the actual experience. But we'd love to hear too, you mentioned there's some really important science behind it. We read a lot about this. We read a ton about the science behind mental wellness and our emotional regulation and learning to control our own central nervous system. And we're really powerful in our own bodies. And so I'd love to hear you talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. And let's think about classical conditioning. We've all heard of the Pavlovs Dog Theory. Pavlov rings the bell, the dog salivates. You're doing the exact same thing when you're listening to an activation in everyday moments. When you link new thoughts and beliefs to everyday actions, magic starts to happen. You start to actually act as if you are your future self, and inevitably you're going to start doing that again and again the more that you listen to these activations in everyday moments. So if you listen to a walking activation, we have a whole walking category, which is my favorite. And if you listen to one of your walking activations in the morning, every morning for 10, 15 minutes when you're walking your dog, soon enough, you don't even need that activation to feel abundant, empowered, confident, like your life is full of love and opportunity and abundance, and you are genuinely feeling the most alive and just tuned in than you've ever felt. You're not even going to need those activations after a certain point because you've conditioned your mind and your body to react to an environment in a certain way. So that's the beautiful thing about tying these new thoughts and beliefs that activations help you produce with everyday actions. And you'll also notice with activations that it's not really like meditation where you have to put it on your to-do list every day. It's literally one of those things, just like having your morning coffee that you crave to do. So that's another really amazing thing about this kind of habit stacking tool. It's like, it doesn't require you to carve out 20 minutes from your morning. It's not putting more burden onto our already busy lives. It just is one of those things that you can listen to in the background. And even if you're not even consciously listening to the words, it acts as subliminal messaging to your brain to help you rewire your mind, to help reprogram your RAS, the reticular activating system. In your brain, the RAS is essentially this filtration system that all of us have in our brains that essentially decides what we consciously notice or don't notice, which is absolutely crazy because if we can decide what opportunities we see, that is revolutionary. So we've all heard of this red car example when it comes to the RAS. It's a very easy example here. If you are thinking of buying a red convertible, say, you just start seeing it everywhere. Why? It's not because they're manufacturing it more. It's because you are noticing it. Your RAS is now programmed to notice things that you are thinking about, that you believe, that are in your mind. So it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy when you have beliefs, for example. A deeper example here, if you deeply believe like you're an unlucky person and that good things don't happen to you, that it's very hard for you to reach success in this life, then without you even realizing it, you're just going to start looking for reasons why that is true to affirm that belief in your mind. You're going to start seeing why that person rejected you, why this person is better looking than you, how this person didn't want to be in this business with you, and how, you're a victim to everything in your life. You're going to see reasons why, and it's going to confirm that bias that you have, which is such a tragedy because we're literally putting that upon ourselves. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you train your mind to deeply believe in your potential, if you train your mind to deeply believe that you are 100% responsible for your life and everything that you desire is already on its way, this is how to hack the system. This is literally how to hack the system. If you want to be your best self this year, why go the treacherous, hard manual route of like, oh, really trying to rely on discipline to change that habit and then falling off and shaming yourself? Why go that route? Go the very, very streamlined route of first adjusting and aligning your self-image with the person that already has those things. And how to do that, you need to reprogram your mind, rewire your old thoughts and beliefs to be aligned with the new self. And the best way to do that, I found, is through activations.
Some of our listeners might be feeling stuck today in relationships or personal growth or their careers. What's your advice for someone who's feeling that way, for something they can do today on their own to take that first step to move forward?
One of the biggest things that I tell people that feel stuck is that they might be feeling quite numb right now. I know in my own experience, whenever I have felt very stuck in life, and listen, it still comes up all the time. I'm constantly a work in progress. I know that when I'm feeling stuck, it's because I'm feeling too numb and I'm too distracted in life. And we're living in an age where technology is so prominent in society. And I think it's a great thing. There are parts of it that are amazing because we get to have these conversations like we're having now virtually. But it's also very detrimental to our own brains and mental ability because it numbs us. Constantly being on technology, constantly being exposed to mindless scrolling on social media, watching TV every night. It doesn't just make you numb in the moment. It really does trickle out for hours and hours after. So if we're continually giving ourselves these things that numb us and doing things and activities that numb us, how in the world can we expect to feel alive? Because the opposite of numb is alive. And when you're doing numbing activities, whether it's excessive technology use, whether it's overeating, drinking, drugs, and distracting yourself and numbing yourself with things that aren't actually productive, that makes time go by so quickly. That is a sure way to waste your precious life if you continue doing numbing activities. And it actually holds you back from the clarity that you need to become your ultimate self. So when you're feeling stuck, the number one thing you need to look at is, how am I being distracted every day? And how can I unnumb myself? How can I do more things that make me feel alive? And aliveness is the opposite of numbness. So how can I do more things that make me feel so aligned, present, alive, awake? And those things are having beautiful, deep conversations with people that you love, journaling, being in nature, exercising, activations. I've literally designed these activations to specifically make you feel alive, give you that movie moment feeling. We've all had the experience of being in the back of a car with the window rolled down and your favorite song is playing. You kind of just feel like you're romanticizing life, like you are literally the main character in your own movie. That is what activations make you feel like. And that's aliveness to me. I love to romanticize. And when you're feeling alive, it slows down time. What a blessing to be able to slow down time. Life goes by so quickly. The more things that we can do to slow down time, the better our lives will be and the more clear we'll be. So that's my biggest piece of advice for people that are feeling stuck. You have to unnumb yourself. Because when you numb yourself so much, it's very hard to get clear. It's very, very hard to get unstuck. It's very easy to stay in your old ways and to just numb until you just feel nothing anymore. So you got to just get out of that hole and really try very hard to unnumb yourself. And it doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It doesn't mean you don't have any screen time whatsoever. I still watch TV, with my fiance. We're rewatching Game of Thrones right now. You don't need to be perfect. One of the biggest lessons I've learned throughout the past decade of transformation, the one biggest lesson is that perfection is not the way to get there, because perfection doesn't exist. I've never had one perfect day in my entire life, ever. And the most successful, happiest, most beautiful people you see in those glossy magazines, they've never had one perfect day either. I'm telling you, it's an impossible standard. I've never had one day where I wake up perfectly at 5 a.m. I got out of bed, I do a morning routine, I don't procrastinate, I don't have screen time, I'm positive and I think positive thoughts all day. I eat organic all day. No, I've never had one day like that. And you don't need perfection to succeed. I had to actually become successful myself to look back and realize, wait a minute, I I can do this without being perfect and shaming myself because I wasn't perfect. Wow. And so the lesson here was to stop measuring success as how perfect I can be and how on the ball I can be. It's actually measuring success by looking at your bounce back rate, which is something I've developed, and it's essentially just the measure of a measure of how quickly you can get back to being your future self after falling off track. So the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people in any area of life is that the successful people, after they fall off track, they just bounce back quickly. Their bounce back rate is short. They have a short response time. Perfectionism holds us back more than anything else. And as a recovering perfectionist, I can tell you that, it does not need to be the measure of success. And it's your bounce back rate. So just keep going.
Okay, Mimi, wrapping it up here. If you wanted to leave our listeners with maybe your favorite piece of wisdom, one piece of wisdom that they can tuck away and carry with them into the new year, what would it be?
The wisdom would be, you can become your future self, your ultimate future self right now. In this moment, you can become them. And the more time that you spend in this energy of being your future self, the faster that life that you desire will actually come into fruition for you. So that's what I would tell you. Get very familiar with who this future self version of you is and become them in everyday moments. You can use activations. You don't even need to use activations. You can try yourself. But I will say that activations are a very, very streamlined tool to help you get there. And if you want to try the app completely risk-free just to see if it's for you, we offer a 14-day free trial. I decided to offer this extended free trial because I know that you can feel a difference in 14 days, and I want you to actually feel the difference before ever paying. We also have a money-back guarantee, so if you decide to pay and you forget to cancel, that's okay. We can give you your money back. It's very low barrier to entry. Just try it out. Jen, you tried the app. I guess tell us a bit about how you felt.
I find these practices really, really meaningful. This sort of work, I'm thinking about people listening going, I've never had like a guided activation in my ears. I don't know what that experience is like. That was me too, for sure. And I have a very noisy mind. So for me, it's helpful to have words in my ears activated with the right sounds and the right energy and the right direction. Like that for me is an incredibly helpful focus tool to go, all right, here, you're not going to have to just invent this on your own. You don't have to just make up the thoughts out of thin air that are going to sort of lead you forward or help enact healing or potential or growth in your life. So I am a user who absolutely benefits from this being created with clarity, with purpose, with intention, with various scientific expertise, all sort of dovetailing into one listening experience into transformation. And so I'm this with the headphones on a walk while I'm cooking dinner, while I'm folding laundry. That's one of my favorites. I have to do it anyway. It's not taking extra time out of my day. I have to do it. And so laundry, it's headphones in. Long drive, it's headphones in. Cooking dinner, it's headphones in. It works in. It works into your normal life. You don't have to find a sensory deprivation room and experience, some activation. And so I think that's what you were saying earlier too, which is a key portion to this particular work that you have designed is everyday moments. And so that fits everyone. It literally fits everyone. We are all going to go about our day in routine spaces where our hands might be busy, but our brain is free to listen. And so it is low barrier. It is. It's low barrier. And this isn't something to add. It's something that can join a place that you're already at. And so I want everybody to know that. Again, you guys, if you're interested, your particular link is activations.com/Jen. You don't need a code. That's just it. Go straight to it. And then you can both experience it and have a discount. And so, thank you, Mimi, for coming on today and for just sharing so transparently about your story, your history, what you have experienced, what you have overcome, what you are reaching toward. So many little pieces of your life are really, I think, to a lot of us relatable in places that we've had pain, that we've experienced loss, that we have suffered, that we have been stuck. And so it's encouraging that you have had a story that people can understand and go, yeah, I've had some of those similar pain points. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And we'll not be jealous of your sunshine and your wave and your wind and your sand while we're bundled up here in sweaters. But can you just real quick before we let you go, let us know where people can find you if they'd like to follow you, see more of your work, then obviously, of course, one last call to activations.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you guys want to find me online, I'm not posting on Instagram a lot since I've been taking some time off technology this year. The whole numbing aliveness thing I was discussing earlier, I really do try to practice what I preach, but my Instagram is at Mimi Bouchard. I post updates there every few months when I'm back online. And then I actually have my first ever book coming out in the spring with Hay House. It's called Activate Your Future Self. And it is my first book where all of my teachings are in there, and it is available for pre-order right now on Amazon. So go check it out.
Good for you.
Your future self. Thank you. And go try out activations. I know this is a New Year's episode, so everyone's trying to tell you what to do online right now, how to live your best life in 2025, but really just try to simplify it down for yourself. Step in to the future self energy that you would like to create in your life. And activations are the only type of audio that are specifically designed to get you there. So try it out, 14 days free, money back guarantee, 0 risk to try it, and just play it in everyday moments and just try out the different categories, see which ones resonate with you. I personally love the walking category, like I mentioned, and also the getting ready category. Whenever I'm getting ready in the morning, doing my makeup, I just listen to it in the background. We're really here to help support you and help you become your future self. So if you want to join the tens and tens of thousands of other people that are using the app that have had success stories with it, just try it out. There is no harm in trying. So go to activations.com/Jen and take advantage of the 2-week free trial and the massive discount on our yearly subscriptions.
Right on. Mimi, thank you for being here. We're delighted to we're cheering for you in 2025. Hope your book release goes beautifully. That's a huge accomplishment to write a book. And so congratulations. And thanks for being on today.
Thank you. It was nice to talk to you.
It was lovely to meet you both. Thanks so much.
All right, you guys. I know that we just talked a lot around it, and really the best way for you to sort out this conversation is to go peek at the actual activation app. So don't forget, you've got a risk-free trial, and you have a special discount just for being in our listening community. And just that link for you is activations.com/Jen. And you've got 14 days just to see what you like. I mean, I can tell you, again, Mimi just mentioned this, but there's like tons of different sort of a focus point for each activation, for what you want to pair it with. Do you want to do it while you're on a walk? Do you want to do it while you're doing dishes? Do you want to do it while you're getting ready in the morning, while you're getting ready at night? There's like a whole bunch of categories where you can figure out where this fits in best for you. I think the one that I like, because it's a great way to start the day, it's literally called Feel Good Main Character Morning. So none of these are long, by the way. They're all short. And I just play that while I'm like putting my makeup on. While I'm washing my face. It's just like running right there. And so it's just kind of a way to kickstart the day. Like the main character energy became really evident to me a few years ago when I'm like, I'm it. I'm in charge of my life. This is my home. I'm solo parenting. I'm going at it. I'm main character in my own story at this point. And so I think that's why that one resonated with me so much. But there's so many for you to choose from. Whatever it is, whatever area of your life where you're feeling like a little bit stuck or you're needing the push and the shove and the motivation, they're going to have it. So thanks, Mimi, for joining us on the show today. And we are thinking about all of our listeners as we start a new year and are so hopeful for you and for us and for our families that this is a year of joy and it is a year of connection. It is a year of health. It is a year of possibility and recovery and growth. And so we hope for you all the same things we hope for us and for our people. So, all right, you guys, that's it. Thanks for joining us on this bonus episode, and we will see you next week.